You've been asking for it, so here's my experience at South by Southwest 2025. So I had day one all planned out. I was going to go to a couple of pop-up events, then wait in line at the Criterion Closet for a little bit, then go to some movie premieres. And that's how the day originally started. I went to some pop-ups and got some free stuff. Then I went to the Criterion Closet where I found out that they closed early for the day because people were waiting in line at 9 a.m. for an event that started at 3 p.m. I don't know who you are that got there at 9 in the morning, but I hope you're happy. That threw a little wrench in my plans, but Criterion Closet, we will see you tomorrow, bright and early. Because I had this free time, I started the film festival a little earlier than expected by seeing Carl Lewis's documentary, I'm Carl Lewis. And I think this was a great way to start the festival off because it was a very good documentary that captured the provocative life of 9-time Olympic gold medalist Carl Lewis. It was even executively produced by my glorious king, LeBron James. After my screening, I made my way to the Another Simple Favor red carpet, where I saw Blake Lively, who is having a moment right now. But I heard the movie was decent, so who knows? Maybe people will go see it. I made no effort in seeing Another Simple Favor because I knew I had no chance of getting in. So I blocked off time to go see The Astronaut starring Kate Mara. But who didn't block off time for me was The Astronaut because nobody got in. But I did get to see Kate Mara leave the theater. And I would see a lot more of her this festival because she was the star of 3 South by premieres. Because I had all this time that opened up, I made my way down to the Alien Earth activation, which was pretty cool because you get to walk through an alien wreckage site with live actors playing the role of Weyland-Yutani employees. Was it worth the over-hour wait? Probably not. But hey, I got a bunch of free stuff. After finishing the Alien Earth activation, I went to the Paramount Theater to see the premiere of Seth Rogen's new show, The Studio. Now, I was really interested in seeing the show because I was hearing a lot of good things about it. The problem was, I didn't get in. So you won't hear my thoughts on whether I liked it or not. I had a lot of free time because of all these premieres I didn't get into. So I decided to go to a couple of pop-ups on Rainy Street. The first I went to was the Love is Blind house. And I gotta say, why did I go here? I don't even watch this show. And I have to pay for my drinks. I'm sorry. There's no excuse for me to pay for my drinks during South by Southwest. Because it's easier to find a drink than it is to find water during this festival. So I left faster than Glenn Powell swooping in on Sydney Sweeney after her engagement broke off and went to the Paramount Plus Lodge. Now this event was basically the same one they put on last year. Bunch of photo ops with Paramount Plus IP and 2 free drinks, which definitely made up for the last house I went to. I made my way from Paramount Plus to the Paramount Theater for the midnight premiere of Together starring Alison Brie and Dave Franco. There was a lot of buzz around Together after Sundance this year, as people were calling it the horror movie of the year. Well, I don't know about that. It was definitely a decent body horror movie, and the chemistry between Alison Brie and Dave Franco was good, mainly because they're actually married in real life. But I wasn't really a big fan of the conflict and thought the movie was very cringy at times. So to each their own. I started day 2 bright and early at the Criterion Closet, as I got there at 9 a.m. for an event that started at 11. But apparently, I didn't start the day bright and early enough because people started waiting in line at 6 a.m. But I was a man on a mission because I needed to go inside the Criterion Closet. So I stayed and waited in line. I will say, the people running the event were amazing and were great to talk to because they really enjoyed being there and talking about movies. Now, they told us that waiting in line was actually more fun than the Criterion Closet itself, but I'm sorry, that's just wrong. Because while I was in line, Letterboxd was interviewing people about their 4 favorite films. If you know me, you know it's been my dream to hold the Letterboxd mic. And I thought that dream would finally come true because they were right in front of me and right about to interview me. But after they finished interviewing the group in front of me, they decided they were done taking interviews where I was and went to the front to interview people before they entered the closet. We were on the verge of greatness. We were this close. And just like that, it was ripped right in front of me. So for my remaining time in line, I just stood there in despair, heartbroken at what might have been my only chance to hold the Letterboxd mic. Last year, I got to see the Letterboxd mic. This year, I got to be in front of the Letterboxd mic. Who knows? Maybe next year, I'll be able to hold it. After 6.5 hours in line, we finally got into the Criterion Closet. and I got to live out my dream of being a snobby cinephile. Was waiting in line for 6.5 hours worth it? Honestly, yeah. This was such a cool experience, and was for sure one of the highlights for not only this year's South by Southwest, but honestly, my cinema personified experience. Once I left the Criterion closet and purchased my picks, I went to the Deli Boys pop-up next to the truck, where I got some free swag and snacks. They also gave me chai, and I'm sorry, what the f did I drink? You know when Indians get mad when people call it chai tea because chai literally means tea? Well, when you give chai, that doesn't mean you can just go out and give any tea, because whatever I got tasted nothing like masala chai.
After spending the whole day skipping premieres, I need to get back on the horse.
And I decided to do that with The Ballad of Wallace Island, starring Carey Mulligan. And I'm happy I did, because I really enjoyed this movie, since it's a feel-good movie that shows you what you get if you let British people be silly and musical for 90 minutes. The Q&A was also really cool, because it was interesting to see how these creators were able to take a short they made almost 18 years ago and turn it into a feature film, and how they were able to attract Carey Mulligan to the project. And the Q&A ended off perfectly, with a live performance from Tom Basden playing a folk song from the movie. Now, folk music is a central tenet to this movie's core, so this definitely was a highlight. And how could you not end off a perfect screening without a free t-shirt? After the movie screening, I saw on the South By app that The Accountant 2 was still seating people. So I took a shuttle to the Paramount Theater, and lo and behold, I actually got in. And apparently, so did Matt Damon, because he was also in the building. Matt, what are you doing? Christopher Nolan needs you right now. As for the movie itself, it was bad, but I mean, it was still entertaining. For day 3, I was supposed to go to the second screening of Death of a Unicorn, but the app said it was at capacity 30 minutes before the show started, so I knew there was no point in even going. So instead, I went to the premiere of Rami Youssef's new animated series, Number One Happy Family USA. And I gotta say, Rami is on a generational run right now, because this was very funny, and he does a great job capturing the tension and culture of being an Arab in September 2001, whether Rami likes it or not. Also, this show was co-created by one of the original writers of South Park, and it shows. I will definitely come back to this and continue watching when this show comes out on Prime Video. The next premiere, I didn't even know if I wanted to go to, but I had some free time, so I thought, why not? So I made my way to the Paramount Theater to see The Age of Disclosure, which is a documentary confirming that UFOs and aliens are real. Now, this one was one of the most talked about documentaries at the festival and even social media, because my goat, Caleb Williams, put it on his story, and I had to let him know to go watch it. But I wouldn't say it is a must watch, because most of the documentary was just them saying, oh, I've seen so much you haven't even heard of, but I can't say it because it's classified. Like, what's the point? If you're gonna whistleblow, go full send. Don't have to it. I left halfway through the Q&A because I need to get to the barricade for Holland, Nicole Kidman's movie. Now, if you've been following Cinema Personified, you know how much Nicole Kidman means to me. As an AMC A-list veteran, I need to see my queen in person. And while I didn't get up close, she waved at me, and only me. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Coming down from the euphoria of Nicole Kidman looking in my direction, I need to pull myself together and get to my next premiere. Because when I read that Matt Johnson was bringing another film to South By, I knew I was going to be there no matter what. Because his last film I saw at South By was Blackberry, and I loved that movie. So I need to see his new movie, Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. Unfortunately, South by Southwest didn't feel the same way, because it was at capacity 30 minutes out. But my respect for Matt Johnson went up tenfold, because he went out in the crowd and was talking to fans who didn't get in. Like, this is such a stand-up guy. Since I couldn't get into Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, I drove across town to see if I can get into the world premiere of Drop. And luckily, I did. And I gotta say, I was really surprised how much I enjoyed this movie. Now, it's nowhere near cinema, but I had very low expectations for this. And I was shockingly entertained by this thriller. There is one gripe I had with this movie, though. This movie takes place in Chicago. And at the very end of the movie, the protagonist drives from the Loop to her home in Naperville in like a minute. That's like a 40-minute drive without traffic. So there's no way this movie could be real. Day 4 started off with going to the secondary screening of Nicole Kidman's Holland. And I gotta say, it was rough to see Nicole in this. Now, her performance is fine. She does her best to carry this movie, but the writing and storytelling are so bad that this movie couldn't be saved by her. The next premiere I was a little on the fence about, but I decided to go because I had the opening. And that premiere was Her's directorial debut, The Makings of Curtis Mayfield. a documentary on the life of singer Curtis Mayfield. And I was surprised, because this was a well-made and edited documentary that shows the impact Mayfield had on black artists and culture. So I gotta say, hats off to you, her. Now immediately after, I also had no idea what to go to. So I decided to just stay and watch Clown in a Cornfield, which I knew nothing about. I just saw that it was a horror movie and that it was going to be distributed by Shudder. And speaking of horror movies, I feel like this entire festival was just horror movies and thrillers. Like Fantastic Fest is already in Austin. Can we spice it up a little this year? Back to Clown in a Cornfield, I had zero expectations going into this movie. And I gotta say, that was the right way to see this, because I was really surprised how much I enjoyed this movie. It's a pretty good slasher movie that infuses comedy to make this movie feel genre-bending and unique. Also, apparently, this is the same director who made Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, and it definitely showed, because this movie is very satirical to a traditional low-budget slasher movie, because there are moments where it either subverts your expectations or calls out and makes fun of its stereotypes in a meta way to make the experience entertaining and fun. The final movie I saw for the day was The Rivals of Mziah King, Matthew McConaughey's return to acting after 6 years. And there's no other place he could have premiered this movie than his backyard, Austin, Texas. Now, everyone at the premiere loved this movie. I thought it was alright. There were definitely elements of this movie that I really liked, like how very southern this movie felt with its music, dialogue, and tone. But I wasn't really a fan of how the story was constructed because I felt it was very bloated. But hey, I might just be in the minority. You might love this movie like the people at South by. Day 5 started off with a secondary premiere for Friendship at the Paramount Theater. And this was the most packed I've ever seen the Paramount Theater, especially for a secondary premiere. And it definitely deserved it, because this might be one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Friendship is basically what would happen if you took an I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson sketch, made it a 97-minute feature film, and shot it by an auteur like P.T. Anderson. It's the perfect parody, and this movie just shows why Tim Robinson is a star. Unfortunately, that star wasn't with us. And that made me very sad, because half the reason I came to this premiere was to see Tim Robinson. And he wasn't there because technically this wasn't the first premiere of the festival. But I did get to meet Shane Gillis outside, so that definitely made up for it. After Friendship, I tried to see the secondary screening of Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. But like most of the Alamo Drafthouse screenings this year, I didn't get into this one. I'm sorry, Matt Johnson. I failed you. But don't worry, Matt. I'm happy your film got acquired by Neon, and I will be there when it hits theaters, no matter what. The next premiere I went to was Sally, a Nat Geo documentary about the life of astronaut Sally Ride. I enjoyed Sally. I thought it was a well-made documentary and talked a lot about the life of Sally Ride, especially the life she kept hidden from the world. The final movie of the day I saw was Ash. And what did I watch? This was probably one of the worst movies I've seen at South by. I'm sorry, I really don't like on independent movies, but I'm making an exception for this for two reasons. Because this movie already has a distributor. It's going to be distributed by Shudder. And this movie was a South by Southwest headliner. And what blows my mind is this wasn't even the best Shudder movie from this festival. They could have chosen Clown in a Cornfield if they wanted to go down that route. And I wasn't the only one who felt this way, because everyone I was around at the premiere hated this movie. But I did get one thing out of watching Ash. I got to hold the letterbox mic. Day 6, we took a break from the movies to go see cinema, because Deftones was in town. Back to our regularly scheduled program. On day 7, I went to go see the premiere of the closing night film, On Swift Horses, starring Daisy Edgar-Jones and Jacob Elordi.
And to be honest, I wasn't really a fan of this one.
This movie just screamed Oscar bait, as it was a lackluster period drama about characters exploring their same love in a time when it's taboo. But it does so in such a surface level way that it provides no nuance to the topic and gives you no material to really care about these characters. It wasn't even the best same love explorations at this festival, as there were way better representations in other movies I saw. Day 8 was a little rough, because I barely got into any premieres this day. I started my day off by trying to see Good Boy, but I wasn't even close to getting in, so I never got the chance to see if he was a good boy. I really hope he was a good boy in the end. He better have been. I also didn't get into the screening of Hollow Road, which means another Alamo movie, another miss. So to break this bad luck streak, I need to leave downtown to see The Dutchman at AFS Cinema. The Dutchman is based on Amari Baraka's one-act play, Dutchman. And I gotta say, this movie is a pretty good thriller that really emulates the play's source material. I felt that the movie did a profound job discussing race relations in America and was carried by a strong performance from Andre Holland. I will say, it definitely had its issues because I felt like this movie was a little stretched for time because it's based on a one-act play. But overall, I not only enjoyed this movie, but I also enjoyed the director's Q&A at the end as well, because he was very enthusiastic about his process making The Dutchman. On day 9, the final day, I finally got into the Alamo Drafthouse, where I saw 24 Hours of Grace, EDM Artist Zoo's directorial debut. Yeah, it's what you'd expect from a companion album film by an artist who has no film background. This dude didn't even come to the premiere of his own movie, so that shows you all you need to know. After this, I went to go see Deaf President Now. And I'm not exaggerating by saying this. This might be one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. This film is about the Deaf President Now student protests at Gallaudet University, the only deaf university in the world, as students were protesting the board of directors for not electing a deaf president for the university. This documentary was incredibly emotional and takes the audience on a journey as you see these deaf students fight for their human rights. I highly recommend y'all go watch this movie when it comes out on Apple TV. But I warn you, you probably won't have dry eyes when watching it.
Because there wasn't a single one in the screening I went to.
And the 19th and final premiere I went to was for Slanted, the jury award winner for narrative feature. And I will say this was a good movie to end the festival on, because I really enjoyed it. Slanted is a good coming-of-age comedy that uses a potpourri of original ideas like Dee Dee, The Substance, and Mean Girls to create a satirically over-the-top look at the juxtaposition between minorities and predominantly white communities in America. So, I hope this movie finds a distributor, because I'd love to make a review promoting this film to get y'all to go watch it. And that's a wrap on South by Southwest 2025. Of the 19 premieres I saw this year, here are my favorites. My favorite feature film was Friendship. My favorite documentary was Deaf President Now. And my favorite television premiere was Number One Happy Family USA. Mainly because it was the only television premiere I saw this year. While there were some highlights from the festival, I gotta say, this year definitely didn't have as many movie hits as in years past. And I think that's gonna foreshadow the film landscape for this year. Because we're looking to have a rough year for movies. So hopefully, things pick back up for South by Southwest 2026. Because I'm definitely gonna be back next year.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed my South by Southwest 2025 recap video. And please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more film content from me.